Hi everyone, welcome to the session. My name is Vishwanath Roy and I will be your instructor for this session. A little about me also. So I am basically a corporate trainer and I am working with different tech stacks for the last 9 years in this field. And my experience in the field of Python goes around 6 years. And what I do is I try to train and develop new projects and guide the candidates on different applications. So I know Python, I know MERN stack, I know MongoDB, I know database in which SQL is also covered out. I know how to use GitHub also. My target audience goes around freshers, the BTech experience, people who are working in different companies also. And initially, I was also teaching the school case students. This is a little about myself. Now, what we are going to learn in this session, let's have a quick look. So we are going to learn about the very main topic in Python, that is list and tuples. So list and tuples, obviously we know, we have heard about it a lot. What are this? These are the very basic data structures which are used in Pythons. So by the end of this session, you will understand what list and tuples are, how they are created, what is the key difference between them, what are the most common operations and the methods we will use it daily, and the real world scenarios where each one shines. So let's have a look quickly. I will share my screen with you all. Let me know if you can see my screen or not. Okay. So I hope the screen is visible. So this is what we're going to cover out in today's session. Let's go through one by one. Now, when we are learning about few of the things in Python, so whether you are experienced or fresher, that does not matters right now, but you are going to understand this session properly if you are going to continue with me over here. So this session will give you a solid, a practical grip on these two structures. Let's dive in. So first of all, before we get into this topic, let's zoom out and understand a few things. That in this world of programming, we really work with just one piece of data. Correct. We work with collections of data. Maybe it can be a list of student names, it can be a set of coordinates or a table of sales figure, etc., etc. So Python gives us a several built-in data structures which are used to organize such collections of data. And two of the simplest, most commonly used ones are list and tuples. So what we know about list, if I say list is simply an ordered changeable collection. So changeable, we can again use one more term, that is mutable, right? And what is tuple? So tuple is an ordered unchangeable collection. So unchangeable is immutable. So mutable means something which can be changed, and immutable means something which cannot be changed. Now, the question is, why does this matter? That is the main question, right? Why does this matter? Now, obviously, when we talk about choosing the right data structure, that is very important and crucial because of the these three pointers. Please note it down. Performance. Performance, we want to understand performance. That means out of list and tuples, tuples are faster and will use less memory. The next aspect is data safety. Now, tuples is going to protect the data from the accidental modifications because, as we know, tuples are immutable. So, therefore, data safety becomes very crucial. So, if we are using tuples, it can protect our data from any type of accidental modification. Next, the code clarity. If you are using a tuple, it signals that the data wouldn't change. That means makes the code easier to understand. Now you can see this everywhere in real Python code also, that from storing the database queries results to returning the multiple values from functions, or to represent the fixed records like GPS coordinates. You might have seen latitude, longitudes, or the RGB color codes, etc., etc. Now, let's get a little bit deep into it. Let's understand both the concepts by live coding examples. So first of all, let's understand the list part. So what are list? So there are four things which you want to understand the list is. They are ordered. That means ordered means it will be kept in particular positions. Mutable, as we have seen, that means can be modified. We can add something in the list. We can remove and modify the items in the list after creation. It allows duplicates also. Is a very important point to understand. It allows duplicate. That means you can store duplicate values in list, and it can have mixed data types. That means you can store different data types. It can be number, it can be obviously text, it can be a boolean, etc., etc. So all of things can be done in the case of list. So I will show you a small example of list. So let's create a list by this name my list, and basically we use the pair of square brackets to create a list. So I'm trying to store 3 items with the names like 1, 2, 3, like this. So if I try to print this, we can just use this print method, and then we can just run this and see the output. We want to check the data type. You can verify this is a list or not. You can just use the type method and put the variable name over here, and you can just cross check the output. So here it is. The output comes right in front of your screen like this. So obviously, I think this is clear. Now the question comes on, why does the mutability matter? So think of a list as a shopping basket. You can keep adding or removing items as you walk through the store. That exactly the kind of flexibility a list gives you in code. Now, indexing and slicing work the same way as strings. So if I try to see a very simple thing over here, so if I want to print the first element only, so what I will do, I will write over there like this. So if I check the output, I can see right now I get the first item in the list, that is 1. Okay, so this is how it works out. Similarly, if I want to get the next item in the list, I can do it by putting 1. So that means you are getting the next item over there. We can also access the next element, again the same process. That will be, I put it over there too. This is also possible over here. So if I see the output, I will get the output over there. That's it. Correct. Now there's one more way to do it. Okay, there's one more way to do it over here. Let's have a look. If I say -1, then what will happen? This works out or not? Let's see what happens. Yes, it does works out. So -1 gives you the last value of this given list. That means in case of Python, indexing works in both the ways, positive and negative. So if you want to get the last value, we can go with -1. If you want to get the first value, you can go with 0. Now the question arises, why do we start counting at 0? Isn't it? That's a very obvious question over there. So Python, like almost all the programming language, uses zero-based indexing, meaning the first element will sit at the position 0, not 1. Remember, this is a very important tip, and this is for the beginners who should remember this very early. Otherwise, it's very problematic going ahead. So counting starts at 0. So in this case, the indexing and slicing also works in the same way as the strings part. So if I get an example, so right now we have seen the positive and the negative indexing. So if I see a very small example over here, so if I say print, and if I put the index from 1 to 3, so obviously 1 means the second position, that is 2, and we did have the 3. So should I get an output? Will I get output over there? Yes, I get an output over there. So I'm getting the last two elements. In a similar manner, if I try to write 2 instead of 3, now what happens? Let's see the output. In this case, I only get 2, the second element. Why not both? Because as we know the rules, if we write out the 2, the last, that is the ending index, is not counted. So it will stop 1 before it. That's why I get output as 2. This is how this indexing works out in case of Python. Okay, the same way as it happened in the case of strings. Now, let's take, before we go ahead, let's understand a few more concepts in case of list. So right now we have seen the examples, how it works out. Okay. And we have seen how this things works out. Now, if we want to understand few things before going ahead, uh, we can also understand the next topic, that is tuples now. Okay, so tuples is what? Tuples, as compared to lists right now, we have seen there are a few of the things which is different over there. So tuples will be created using this round brackets. Again, we will have the comma separated items over there, and it will be ordered just like list, but it is immutable. Obviously, when it is immutable, it can not be modified once you create it. We cannot do any changes, so we cannot add or remove items over there. It allows duplicates, same like list, and can hold mixed data type, same like list. So obviously, the most important changes, it is immutable. That is the most important difference which we find in list and tuples. Okay. So if we have a look at the code now, so we want to get a list. Obviously, we will use a pair of round brackets. Can hold different types of data, okay, as per our choice, as we have discussed right now. So I'm trying to put in few of the data right over there. This is of different data types. And if we try to print this, so instead of giving it proper names, will work better to understand. And let's run this and see the output. This is what the output is right in front of your screen. Okay. Now the question comes on, why would we want something that we cannot change, right? And the answer is very simple. So in case of tuple, this is a very key conceptual point in the entire session. Immutability. So this term immutable or immutability means data integrity. Once you define tuple, nobody, including you, cannot alter it. That means the data integrity is maintained over there. That is the most important principle in case of tuples. It is also used for the fixed collection of data, like days or week, coordinates, or a function returning multiple values that cannot be tampered with. Also, tuples are hashable. That means if they contain only hash value, which means they can be used as keys in dictionaries. List cannot. Remember that part also. Okay. Now, if I give very simple example, this is very important to understand also over here. If I define a tuple, let's say I'm defining a variable as like this, and defining a variable as like this. Now, the question is, are this variables A and B of the type tuple or not? That is the question right now. Okay. So to get it answered, let us do one thing. Let's try to print A with the type like this. Let's print B with the type of B. Now we can just have a look at the output. Let's see what happens. So first variable A, what we can see the output is of integer type. And the second variable B is of the type tuple. Now remember, when you are declaring any value like an integer without any comma, right? That is just integer, not a tuple. Using round bracket does not matter. This will just be integer. Okay, it's a small catch, and this is very important to understand also. But at the same time, if you put a comma, that is going to be a tuple. So just take this very seriously and understand. Okay. All right. Now let's understand the differences between the list and the tuple. Let's have a look at the points. So obviously, the very first thing, the syntax, as we have seen right now, in the case of list, we use the square brackets. And in the case of tuples, what we use the round brackets, the parentheses. And as we know, the lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. And speed, in case of speed, list will be slower and tuples will be faster. Why? The question is why list uh, is slower and tuple is faster, because obviously we know list can be modified and tuples cannot be, correct? In that case, obviously list will be having a larger memory and tuple will be having a less memory. So obviously when memory is consumed is more. So when you're doing any type of operations, that will be taking more time. So therefore, list will take more time compared to tuples. So therefore, tuples are faster, lists are slow. Can we use listed dictionary key? No, we cannot. Right now we discussed that part, but tuples are allowed because elements are hashable. And built-in methods are there in case of list. We have append, remove, and sort, and so on. And we have few of them in case of tuples also. That is what we can see it over here. Now, let's do one thing. Let's take a small example, okay, where we can have a look what happens exactly over here. So let's see one thing now. Okay, so right now I was discussing in that list is slower than the tuple. So the small example code in front of your screen. Okay, so when we try to see this time in case of list and tuple, okay, see this time right now. It's clearly visible that tuples take less time compared to the list over there. That is quite evident over here. So obviously, the time taken in case of tuples is less compared to the list over there. Now we will go to the next section and we'll talk about the most common operations which we are seeing in case of list and tuples. Okay, so let's start with the very first thing, that is list of the methods. So I will create one list again. So I will take a simple variable. Let's give it a name as A, and I will add over there 3 elements, and I will add one mix element also. this. Now, obviously, when we print this variable, we can see the output right over here. Now I want to append one element at the end of the list. So if I want to append 20, so I'll use the append method and I will try to see the output. Does it works or not? So I can see 20 is added at the end of the tuple. So this is the use of append method. Next, we can see the use of insert method also. So what does the insert do? So if I take one small example, if I write over the a dot insert, and if I put the index position as 1, and I put a value as hello, okay. So if I print the list again, what happens now? Let's have a look. So I can see right now at the position 1, that is the second position, the index value is 1. We can see the hello is inserted in the list. So to insert values of specific positions, we use the insert method in case of list. Now, if I want to remove any element from the given list, so what I can do for that is I can use a remove method. So it's simply right over there a dot remove, and if I say over there 1, okay. So let's see the output again. I can see right now 1 is removed over there from this part over there. Okay. Now, let's try to use some different thing. Let's try to use the other part is the pop. Okay. So in the case of pop, we can just write over the a dot pop. So in that case, if I just check the output, if I just print over there, let's see the output now. I can see right now it has been removed from the given list. Okay. So let's take a fresh list with few numbers now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now let's write over there numbers dot pop and print the numbers over here. Let's see the output. What happens over there? We can see right now the element is removed from here. Okay. And if you want to check the length of this list, so we will do it right before the pop operation. So you can use the length operation. I can put the name of the list, that is numbers. Let's check the output. I can see the length of the list, that was 4 before removing the element over here. Now there is one more thing that is known as sort. So for the sort part, I have to modify the list. So I will just append few numbers. I will append 10. Then I will append 6. So what will happen now? The list will become slightly unsorted. Okay. So see the output. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 10, and 6. The list right now is not sorted. So if I write numbers, the list name dot sort, if I check the output, what will happen now? Let's see that. So I can see right now the list is right now properly sorted. Now let's explain you very important why this sort matters in the real projects, right? So imagine you are processing a leaderboard of scores, or you're trying to arrange the invoice days chronologically. In that case, this is very important. So it becomes most common operation which we use in the real world data handling. Okay. Next, we have list comprehension. So list comprehension is very Pythonic way, which you can see in case of Python to build a list. Okay. If you want to take an example, if you want to have an example over there, let's take a quick example straight. So I will create a variable, say squares. And what I want to do is this list should contain the squares of the first five numbers. First five numbers. So what we can do is we can put a square brackets and we can just do like this very simply way. So say for I in a range of 1 to 6. So basically, if you want to start from something, that is going to happen over here. And if I want to see the output, does it works properly or not? So I will just print this right over here and see the output. So this is the very famous example of list comprehension. Okay. I hope it's smart way. That's very important thing. So if you want to create this list using other ways, obviously using loops and all, will take around 3 to 4 lines, right? So if you want something faster, in case of Python, we can do it using this operation, which is known as list comprehension, a very Pythonic way to do it, right? Now, let's talk about tuples. So do we have any tuple methods also? Yes, we have it. So I will show you some of the methods, okay? I will just quickly create a tuple first. So let's create tuple. I will take again 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's have a look for simple count methods. So if I say over the b dot count. Okay, so if I want to count the number of occurrences of the number 2, so I will take more 2 over there. Okay, I will count for 2, I will count for 1 also. Okay, let's have output. So obviously, in this case, in this tuple, there are 2 occurrences of 2 and 1 occurrence of 1. That's why the output is going to check the length. So we can check the length also using the same way we did in case of list, using the length method len, and name of the variable, that is b. Okay, so the length is 5. Obviously, this tuple has got 5 elements over there. We can also go with the membership of operator, like if I want to check print 10 in b. So this will give you either true or false, depending whether the element is inside a tuple or not. So 10 in b is false because obviously it is not available. If I check with 2, that should give us true. Let's quickly confirm that. Yes, I can see right now that 2 is present in the tuple, hence the output comes out to be true over there. Now, that is what we have seen right now. Okay, there are more available methods. Yeah, there are a lot more also. Okay, we see that. So right now we have seen all this. Okay. Now, before going ahead, the very last thing which we have discussed, that we will take a real world users scenarios also. Okay, so let's start the list. Okay, let's try to create a to-do list in which we will use the data structure, that is list, to do that. Okay, so I'll take a quick live demo for this also. Let's do a small to-do list for this. Okay. So what is to-do list, how we can manage it? So we require list because obviously task can change. When you're creating a to-do list, obviously task can change. It is not obviously fixed over there, correct? Yes, exactly correct. Okay, let's create a simple list where we can add some items into this. So this is the to-do list. And let's see the output for this. Okay, I will just print it out and see the output. Okay, all right. So obviously that is fine. This is something which we're getting in the output right now. So let's ignore this error right now. But as we say initially right now, the list has got initially 3 items over there. Now, when we are trying to add one more item in this to-do list, so we are going to append it. And if we see the output now, okay, so we can see that book flight is the part we are in the to-do list. Now we are trying to remove one item. Okay, so it got me error because this was not present in the given list. So let me just remove buy items from this. Okay, so let's remove it and let's try to print the list once more. And let's see the output again. Okay, so what happens now? Obviously, we can see now the buy items is removed from the list. So a simple example which you can see right now. And if you want to see now what are the pending tasks, so we can create a simple code for this. So we can simply say, can just try to traverse this list and we can just print items that. Okay, so that's it. See the output, what happens. This is the pending task which we are able to see in front of the screen. Okay, this is what simple operation. Okay, where we can see how to use the list concept in the daily world. Now, the second example, real-time scenario that we are going to see for tuple. So what we will do is we will try to store a fixed record like student details. So when we are talking about storing the student details, we will use tuple, not list. Why? Because student details should not be changed over there. Okay, so let's take a quick example over there. So I will say create a variable student details. Okay, tuple. Let's say the candidate student is Ananya. What we can store for her? We can store her age. Age is 21, and her branch is computer science. Okay. Now we can do a simple thing. We can do like we can say name, age, and branch. Okay, we can use the concept of tuple unpacking over here, and we can just assign this over here like this. So what will happen now? If we try to check the output, if I try to print it, you will understand it properly. So what we require is we require this 3 details. So we name, we require age and the branch, right? So let's put inside the curly braces. Then we will say age is the variable age and the branch is help of branch. So if I see the output over here, here it is. So name comes to Ananya, age is 21, and the branch is computer science. So okay, very simple code to understand how to use tuples, the real world scenarios. I'm just trying to store a student record in this case. Now, if I take one more example where we can combine the list and tuples both, and this is very common also when we are trying to handle structured data, like in case of database rules or CSV data. So what we can do is we can create a variable, let's say the employee variable. Okay. In this, we can store a list of tuples. That means what will happen? I will have a list. That means I can add more employees in this, and each tuple is going to give you the employee record. Let's see in the last example, as I showed you, I was trying to create a tuple using the student record. Student record cannot be changed. So in this case also, employee record cannot be changed. Hence, tuple will be used. But number of employees can increase. Here, therefore, we are using a list over here to store the records of the employees. So I will just try to store two employees. So let's say one is named as Raj. He's HR in the company, and his salary something around this. Similarly, we have one more candidate who is Priya. Our department is let's say admin, and she has salary of this value. Okay, so we have this variable employees in which we have stored over here two employee details over there. So if you want to just have a look in the output, we can do that. We can do that. We can use a loop for that. So let's say using a for loop. So for name, role, and salary in employees. So the list name is employees. We're going to traverse this, and we can just use a print over there and try to use the same process. So what we can say is, so works as a the role with a or earning this much value. That is the salary. Okay, that sounds great. Okay, let's see the output. Okay, isn't it interesting? So we have combined both list and tuple over here. Yes or no? So in real world scenario, this is how exactly real systems are built. Okay, so obviously, in why do we use list? We use list because it gives you flexibility to add the data, remove the data. So we can add a record, remove records. That flexibility comes in the case of list. But tuple is going to protect the integrity of a single record. Okay, is it clear? I thought that is clear to everyone over there. Right. Okay, so obviously a simple question, which will be the closing point over there. That in the case of Python, or you can involve the Python development, what you are going to choose or what you're going to do it. That depends upon what you're doing right now. So whether you're working with the APIs, databases, or data science with pandas, you will be having a constant choice that whether you want to use tuples or list. Now the decision is going to come down to one question. So what is the question? Does this data need to change after I create it? Ask yourself the question. If the answer is yes, use list. The answer is no, use tuple over there. As simple as that. Okay. Now let's wrap it off. What we have learned in today's session, we have covered list, we have covered tuples, what they are, how they differ in mutability, speed, and use cases. We have also seen the common methods and the operations for each, and how they're used together in the real world scenarios like managing the structured records. Thank you for watching this session, and I hope it gives you a very simple, strong, and practical foundation of working with the Python course data structures, that is list and tuple. Thank you and have a good day ahead.